In 2013, Google announced that Google Reader would shut down on July 1st. The official reason, according to their blog post, declining usage. Not enough people were using it to justify continued development. Google Reader had over 30 million active users when it was killed. The real reason Google shut down Reader had nothing to do with usage numbers. It had everything to do with Google+. Google needed people on its failing social network to inflate metrics before a planned stock offering. Reader let people consume content outside the social graph Google was trying to force everyone into. So, they killed a product with 30 million users, lied about why, and told everyone it was a resource allocation decision. That pattern isn't unique to Google. Today, we're counting down 17 products that companies discontinued while lying about the reason. They gave you the press release version, the explanation that sounded reasonable, the corporate-approved narrative, and all of it was false. The real reasons were greed, spite, strategic sabotage, and occasionally just spectacular incompetence. By number 1, you'll understand that when a tech company tells you why they're killing something you love, they're almost certainly lying. If you've ever lost a product you relied on and didn't understand why, subscribe now. The answers are worse than you thought. Number 17. Windows Phone. Microsoft discontinued Windows Phone in 2017. The official reason: we couldn't compete with iOS and Android. Market conditions made it impossible to sustain. We tried our best. It didn't work out. Windows Phone had a small but dedicated user base. The interface was genuinely innovative. Reviews were consistently positive. So why did it fail so completely? The real reason starts in 2011. Microsoft paid Nokia $250 million to abandon its own operating system, MeeGo, and commit exclusively to Windows Phone. Nokia had been the dominant mobile manufacturer globally. MeeGo was promising. Microsoft wanted Nokia's manufacturing capability and market position for Windows Phone. Then Microsoft stopped investing in Windows Phone, updated it slowly, let app gap grow, watched Nokia's market share collapse. In 2014, Microsoft bought Nokia's phone division for $7.2 billion. 2 years later, Microsoft wrote off $7.6 billion and laid off most of Nokia's staff. In 2017, they discontinued Windows Phone entirely. Microsoft didn't fail to compete. Microsoft paid Nokia to kill its own competitive product, then killed Windows Phone after destroying Nokia's ability to build anything else. The market conditions excuse was a lie. Microsoft created the conditions on purpose. Number 16. Vine. Vine shut down in 2017. Twitter, which owned Vine, said the platform couldn't be monetized effectively. Creators couldn't make money. The format wasn't sustainable. Difficult decision, but necessary. Vine had over 200 million active users when Twitter killed it. It had created an entire generation of internet celebrities. It was genuinely culturally significant. The real reason Twitter killed Vine: spite and strategic incompetence. In 2012, before Twitter acquired Vine, Instagram was considering acquisition by Twitter. Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion instead. Twitter executives were furious they'd lost Instagram. Vine launched in 2013 as Twitter's response: short video content, creative community, rapid growth. But Twitter's leadership never forgave the Instagram loss. They watched TikTok emerge in 2016, using the exact format Vine had pioneered. They had 3 years head start on the short video revolution. They shut Vine down the same year TikTok launched internationally. Twitter didn't kill Vine because it couldn't monetize. They killed it because they were bitter about Instagram and too incompetent to recognize they owned the future of social video. The monetization excuse was a lie. Number 15. iPod Classic. Apple discontinued the iPod Classic in 2014. The official reason: technology had moved on. The iPhone could do everything the iPod could do. Consumers didn't want standalone music players anymore. Natural product evolution. The iPod Classic was still selling approximately 40,000 units per month when Apple discontinued it. Not huge numbers, but sustainable for a mature product with minimal development costs. The real reason Apple killed the iPod Classic: storage tier pricing strategy. The iPhone 6 launched the same month the iPod Classic was discontinued. Storage options were 16 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, and 128 gigabytes. The price jump from 16 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes was $100. From 64 gigabytes to 128 gigabytes was another $100. The iPod Classic held 160 gigabytes and cost $249. If you wanted maximum music storage, buying an iPod Classic and a 16 gigabyte iPhone cost $449 total. Buying a 128 gigabyte iPhone cost $399. But most consumers didn't do that math. They bought the bigger iPhone because the iPod Classic didn't exist anymore. Apple didn't kill the iPod Classic because demand died. They killed it because it cannibalized storage upgrade revenue on the iPhone. The technology evolution excuse was a lie. The strategy was forcing customers into higher iPhone storage tiers. Number 14. Google+. Google shut down the consumer version of Google+ in 2019. The official reason: low engagement and a security vulnerability that exposed user data. We tried to build a social network. Users didn't want it. Time to move on. Google+ never had meaningful organic adoption. Google knew this. They'd been forcing people onto it for years by integrating it into every Google service, whether users wanted it or not. The real reason Google built Google+. Facebook had social graph data Google didn't have. Advertisers paid Facebook more because Facebook knew who your friends were, what you liked, who you talked to. Google wanted that data, so they built Google+ and mandated that to comment on YouTube, you needed a Google+ account. To use some Gmail features, you needed Google+. To review apps on Google Play, you needed Google+. Forced adoption to generate social graph data. It didn't work. People created accounts and never used them. The security breach in 2018 exposed data for 500,000 users. Google shut it down, but not because of the breach, because even forced adoption couldn't create the engagement metrics they needed. The low engagement excuse was real, but dishonest. They'd killed Google Reader to force people onto a platform no one wanted. They failed anyway. Number 13. Microsoft Zune. Microsoft discontinued the Zune in 2012. Official reason: the market had shifted to smartphones. Standalone music players weren't viable anymore. The iPod was dying too. Strategic exit from a declining category. The Zune had a small but loyal user base. The hardware was genuinely good. The Zune HD, released in 2009, was arguably better than the iPod Touch at the time. Reviewers agreed. Sales were modest but stable. The real reason Microsoft killed Zune: internal politics and spite. The Zune division operated separately from the Windows Phone division. When Windows Phone launched, two Microsoft divisions were competing for the same mobile entertainment market. Windows Phone leadership wanted the Zune team's resources. In 2010, Microsoft merged Zune into the Windows Phone division. Zune features were supposed to be integrated into Windows Phone. They mostly weren't. The Zune brand was killed. The team was disbanded. Windows Phone failed anyway. Microsoft didn't kill Zune because the market died. They killed it because internal divisions were fighting for budget, and Windows Phone won. The market conditions excuse was a lie. The real reason was corporate infighting. We're halfway through, and the pattern is clear. Companies don't tell you the real reason they kill products. They tell you a reason that makes them sound like they made a difficult but rational business decision. The truth is usually pettier, greedier, or dumber than they're willing to admit. If this is making you angry, good. Drop a comment with the product you're still mad about. Let's finish this. Number 12. Inbox by Gmail. Google shut down Inbox in 2019. The official reason: we've incorporated Inbox's best features into Gmail. The innovation is preserved. Time to consolidate. Inbox had launched in 2014 as an experimental email client. It bundled similar emails automatically. It snoozed messages. It used AI to surface important emails and hide clutter. Users loved it. It had a dedicated community that preferred it to Gmail. The real reason Google killed Inbox: they couldn't monetize it separately, and keeping two email clients running split the development team. Gmail was the legacy product with hundreds of millions of users. Inbox was the experiment with a few million devoted users. Google made a business decision. force inbox users back to Gmail, claim the features would be integrated, shut down the product. Some features were added to Gmail, many weren't. The bundling was inferior. The AI was different. Inbox users hated the transition. Google didn't shut down Inbox because the features were preserved. They shut it down because maintaining two email products was expensive and Inbox didn't generate separate revenue. The feature preservation excuse was partially true and mostly irrelevant. The product people loved was gone. Number 11. Amazon Spark. Amazon shut down Spark in 2019. Spark was a social shopping feed. Instagram for Amazon products. User-generated content, product recommendations, shoppable posts. Launched in 2017. The official reason for shutdown: customers weren't engaging with it. Low adoption. Better to focus resources elsewhere. The real reason Amazon killed Spark: it was built on a premise that was already failing when it launched. Amazon thought people wanted social shopping inside Amazon. They didn't. People used Instagram, clicked affiliate links, bought products on Amazon. Spark tried to keep people inside Amazon's ecosystem. No one wanted that. Amazon knew this within 6 months of launch. Engagement was abysmal, but they kept it running for 2 more years, making minor updates, pretending it had potential. When they finally shut it down, they blamed users for not engaging. The low adoption excuse was technically true, but Amazon had launched a product no one wanted, ignored the data, and then acted surprised when it failed. Number 10. Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird was removed from app stores in 2014 by its creator, Dong Nguyen. The official reason he gave: the game was too addictive. It was negatively impacting people's lives. He felt guilty about creating something so compelling it was harming users. Flappy Bird was making $50,000 per day in advertising revenue when Nguyen pulled it. It had been downloaded over 50 million times. It was the #1 free app on iOS and Android. The real reason Nguyen pulled Flappy Bird was never fully confirmed, but evidence points to legal pressure. Nintendo owned the visual design of the pipes in Super Mario Bros. Flappy Bird's pipes were nearly identical. Nintendo had grounds for copyright infringement. Multiple sources reported that Nintendo contacted Nguyen or that Nguyen feared legal action. Nguyen never confirmed this. He maintained the addiction narrative, but pulling a game making $50,000 daily at its peak because of guilt doesn't match any other decision he made. He released other games afterward. None had the same premise. The guilt excuse was likely a cover for threatened or actual legal action. Number 9. Google Wave. Google shut down Google Wave in 2012. The official reason: users didn't understand it. Adoption was low. The product was too complex. Innovative, but ahead of its time. Google Wave launched in 2009 as a real-time collaboration platform. Email, instant messaging, document editing, all in one interface. It was ambitious. It was confusing. It required everyone you worked with to adopt it simultaneously. The real reason Google killed Wave: it was a solution looking for a problem. Google built a tool for how they thought people should collaborate, not how people actually collaborated. Usage was low because the learning curve was steep and the benefits weren't clear enough to justify the effort. But Google didn't admit that. They framed it as ahead of its time. Too innovative for users to understand. The reality was simpler. They built something users didn't want. The complexity excuse was real but dishonest framing. Google blamed users for not understanding instead of admitting the product was poorly conceived. Number 8. Segway. Segway didn't discontinue the product, but production of the original Segway PT ended in 2020. The stated reason: the market shifted. Micro-mobility options like e-scooters made the Segway obsolete. Natural evolution. The Segway launched in 2001 with predictions it would revolutionize transportation. Steve Jobs reportedly said it would be bigger than the internet. It cost $5,000. It was heavy. It looked ridiculous. It failed commercially almost immediately. The real reason the Segway failed: it solved a problem nobody had. Walking works. The Segway was slower than biking, more expensive than anything, and socially embarrassing to use. The only sustained commercial adoption was mall security and tourist groups. Segway Inc. blamed market evolution when they discontinued production. The market didn't evolve past the Segway. The Segway was never viable in the market. The obsolescence excuse was a lie. The product was a failure from launch, sustained only by corporate sales and novelty tourism. Number 7. Google Allo. Google shut down Allo in 2019. The official reason: we're focusing on Android messages and RCS, consolidating our messaging strategy. Allo's features will be integrated. Allo launched in 2016 as Google's AI-powered messaging app. Smart replies, Google Assistant integration, incognito mode, expiring messages. It was well reviewed. Adoption was low. The real reason Google killed Allo: Google had 5 messaging products running simultaneously: Hangouts, Allo, Duo, Messages, and Chat, all competing for attention, all fragmenting the user base, all developed by separate teams with no coordination. Google killed Allo not because of a coherent strategy, but because they'd created an incoherent mess. The consolidation excuse implied strategy. The reality was damage control. Google couldn't figure out messaging, launched everything simultaneously, and shut down products randomly when none achieved dominance. Number 6. Barnes & Noble Nook. Barnes & Noble didn't fully discontinue the Nook, but they stopped hardware development and removed it from most stores in 2018. The official reason: market pressures from Amazon. Kindle dominated, couldn't compete. The Nook launched in 2009. By 2012, Barnes & Noble had 25% of the e-reader market. The Nook was genuinely competitive with Kindle. Then Barnes & Noble stopped investing in it. The real reason Barnes & Noble gave up on the Nook: they never committed fully. The Nook was a defensive product. Barnes & Noble feared Amazon would destroy book retail. They built the Nook to protect physical stores by offering digital. When the Nook required real investment, advertising, competitive pricing, Barnes & Noble couldn't commit. They were a bookstore trying to be a tech company. They failed because they never actually wanted to be a tech company. The Amazon dominance excuse was real, but incomplete. Amazon won partly because they invested. Barnes & Noble gave up. Blaming market conditions was easier than admitting they'd half committed to a product that needed full commitment. Number 5. BlackBerry OS. BlackBerry discontinued BlackBerry OS in 2013, transitioning to BlackBerry 10 before eventually giving up on proprietary operating systems entirely. The official reason: iOS and Android had achieved dominance. The app ecosystem gap was insurmountable. Couldn't compete. BlackBerry had nearly 50% of the smartphone market in 2009. By 2013, it had under 3%. The collapse was spectacular. The real reason BlackBerry failed: arrogance and denial. BlackBerry's leadership believed physical keyboards were essential. They believed enterprise security mattered more than consumer apps. They believed they could ignore the iPhone. When the iPhone launched in 2007, BlackBerry's co-CEO Jim Balsillie said it wasn't a threat to business users. When Android emerged, BlackBerry dismissed it as fragmented and insecure. They were right about the security, wrong about whether it mattered. BlackBerry didn't fail because they couldn't compete. They failed because they refused to believe they needed to. The app ecosystem excuse was real, but it was a symptom of strategic blindness, not an external market force they couldn't control. Number 4. Microsoft Groove Music. Microsoft shut down Groove Music's streaming service in 2017. The official reason: the market was too competitive. Spotify and Apple Music dominated. We couldn't differentiate. Groove Music launched in 2015, rebranded from Xbox Music, which had launched in 2012 as Zune Music. Microsoft had been trying to build a music service for over a decade. They'd failed repeatedly. The real reason Microsoft killed Groove: they were terrible at consumer services and refused to admit it. Groove had a confusing interface. The app was slow. Music discovery was bad. Playlists didn't sync reliably. It was inferior to competitors in every measurable way. Microsoft didn't kill Groove because the market was too competitive. They killed it because the product was bad and they couldn't fix it. The competition excuse was technically true but dishonest framing. Spotify succeeded because it was good. Groove failed because it wasn't. Top 3. These aren't just lies about discontinued products. These are lies that revealed exactly how little tech companies respect their users. Number 1 is the most insulting corporate lie on this list. Number 3, Google Hangouts. Google is shutting down the consumer version of Hangouts, transitioning users to Google Chat. The official reason: chat is better, modern, more features, natural evolution. Hangouts launched in 2013, replacing Google Talk. It unified messaging across Gmail, Google+, Android, and iOS. It worked. People used it. Google spent the next decade telling users to switch to something else. First, they pushed Allo. Then, they pushed Duo for video. Then, they pushed Chat for Enterprise. Then, they pushed Messages for SMS. Then, they announced Hangouts would shut down. Then, they delayed the shutdown. Then, they announced it again. Then, they delayed it again. The real reason Google is killing Hangouts: they have no coherent messaging strategy and never have. They launch products, get bored, launch replacements, shut down the old ones, repeat. Hangouts is dying because Google can't commit to anything long enough to make it work. The better product excuse is a lie. Chat isn't meaningfully better than Hangouts. It's different. Google needed a new product to justify their messaging team's existence. Hangouts worked fine. They killed it anyway. Number 2, Mailbox. Dropbox shut down Mailbox in 2015. The official reason: we're integrating Mailbox's features into other Dropbox products. The innovation will continue in a different form. Mailbox launched in 2013 as an email app, gesture-based controls, snooze functionality, clean interface. It was beloved. Dropbox acquired it for $100 million in 2013. 2 years later, Dropbox shut it down. Almost none of Mailbox's features were integrated into Dropbox products. The email client Dropbox promised never materialized. Users were told to switch to other email apps. The real reason Dropbox killed Mailbox: they bought it to acqui-hire the team, not to maintain the product. Dropbox wanted Mailbox's engineers for other projects. The app itself was never the priority. Dropbox lied to Mailbox users. They said the features would be preserved. They weren't. They said the innovation would continue. It didn't. They bought a product people loved, killed it, and lied about why. Number 1, Google Reader. We opened with this one. We're ending with it, because it's the most insulting corporate lie in this entire list. Google shut down Reader in 2013. The official reason: declining usage. Not enough people were using it. Google Reader had over 30 million active users. It was the dominant RSS reader on the internet. Power users relied on it. Content creators used it to monitor their feeds. It was beloved. The real reason Google killed Reader: Google+. Google was trying to force people onto its failing social network. Reader let people consume content outside the social graph. It let you follow websites directly. No social layer, no algorithmic feed, no engagement metrics for advertisers. Google wanted people in the feed. Reader let people escape the feed, so they killed it, and they lied about why. The declining usage excuse was insulting. 30 million users were using it when it died. Google killed a product people loved, that worked perfectly, that required minimal maintenance, because it didn't serve Google's strategic priority of forcing people onto Google+. Google+ failed anyway. Reader is still gone, and Google never admitted the real reason. 17 products, 17 lies. Some were lies of omission, some were lies of framing, some were just straight corporate bullshit, but all of them shared one thing. Companies killed products you used, gave you a reason that sounded plausible, and that reason was false. The real reasons were greed, spite, incompetence, internal politics, strategic sabotage, and occasionally just phenomenal arrogance. None of those sound good in a press release, so they lied. The next time a company tells you why they're discontinuing something you love, remember this list. They're probably lying. The real reason is usually worse. Which one made you angriest? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to see how companies rebranded old ideas as revolutionary innovations, that video is on screen now.